All right, next, Chicago Bears, a team that there's been a couple ups and downs this offseason, but I think they're trending more in the upward situation. The Roquan Smith situation seems to felt its way out, and they seem to have got that all settled for the time being. There's been a couple of interesting O line updates for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Justin Fields is always a bright spot. But there's been a rookie in camp who we have really loved ever since before the draft, Velus Jones Jr. out of Tennessee, a guy that's really impressed us, and we always thought that he was going to be a heck of a player. And he's kind of turning out to be that way in some aspects already very early on with the Chicago's Bear team. Before we get into that story, Nick, Bears fans, storied franchise, ton of great players. You know, you got your Brian Urlachers. You got your Dick Butkus. You've got, tons and tons of 85 Bears defensive players. Great offensive players. Brian Greasy, anyone you could think of. But we want to know, Bears fans, who has been your favorite Bears player growing up? Who's the guy that you watch? Who's the guy you idolize? Who did you want to be? What was it? Walter Payton? Was it anybody like that? So let us know in the comments below. Who was your favorite Bears fan growing up? But Nick, who's your favorite Bear? I want to know that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Brian Greasy. I think that's an interesting take there. It's got to be Mike Ditka. Just Mike Ditka, everything. He was before my time, obviously, as a player and a coach, but just everything with Mike Ditka. I grew up with him on Sunday NFL Countdown every Sundays, and just his just mentality towards everything is awesome. But moving on to the story about Velus Jones Jr. So this is according to Yahoo News. Bears wide receiver Velus Jones Jr. made his rookie debut against the Seattle Seahawks, where fans caught a glimpse of the kind of playmaker he can be for Chicago. While Jones didn't get many opportunities on offense, he had just one catch for 4 yards. It was what he was able to do on special teams that really stood out. The Bears are going to try and get the ball in Jones's hands as often as possible, as evidenced by a couple plays in the return game. The biggest came on his second punt return of the game, where he fielded the punt at the Chicago's 19-yard line. Then Jones turned up his 4.3 speed and was able to elude tacklers before being brought down for a 48-yard punt return. The return led to the Bears' first touchdown of the game. Jones also got a look at both kickoff and punt returns, which also included a 31-yard kickoff return. Jones's speed and playmaking ability was undeniable in the limited sample size we got. All right, Maya. So we've been talking about Velus Jones Jr. a lot, and basically the Bears are going to try and use him a bunch of different ways because he's kind of a gadget guy, a playmaker, a guy who can do so many things well. I'm really excited to see him come out and make big plays in the return game because I think that's going to be kind of, an extra bump for this Bears offense that, they're going through some injuries and some changes right now, and getting that extra bump on special teams could go a long way. What are your thoughts on Jones Jr. and the plays he's making specifically in the return game?
Well, I think even if we look at Jones back in college at Tennessee, he was used in the return game quite a lot, even in his last year there. And I'm going to go over those numbers with you right now. In 2021, he had 24 kickoff returns, 639 yards. So not too bad, 26.6 yards average on kick returns. But he had a long one, broke one, 95 yards for one touchdown. That was the big one. Muffed 0 kickoff returns. Key there. Great hands on the kick returns. And then even in the punt game, he had 18 returns for 265 yards. That's about a 15-yard average almost. And he had a 50-yarder. Really, really great in both aspects of the game. Wasn't able to break a punt touchdown. But, he seemed to be a very, very adept return man back in college. And he's playing in the SEC. It wasn't any scrubs that he was going up against. So he had tough competition playing out at Tennessee. And I think the Bears are smart. The Bears, historically, they know special teams guys. Obviously, you think about Devin Hester. Anytime a young receiver touches the ball, he is not there yet. We won't go there, Bears fans. He's not there yet. But when you think about guys returning the ball for the Bears, immediately the guy that pops in your head is a Devin Hester-like player. So if he can even scratch a tenth of what Devin Hester did, the Bears are probably going to be pretty happy with his production, don't you think?
Yeah, especially when you look at what having a consistent returner can do for an offense. So you know me, I'm big into first downs as a stat. I think that's one of the big tells. And just getting an average of 15 yards, just on average, total in punt return games. So, 3 on a punt return, 12 on a kick return, getting that extra above average return game equates to about a first down and a half, right? 15 yards divided by 10 yards for first down, 1.5 first downs. If you add that to the Bears' offensive output in 2021, right, which was by no means good, right? The Bears really struggled. If you add that 1.5 first down number, they're directly between the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers, the Super Bowl champion LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers, which are obviously under Shanahan, a very well-coached offensive team with playmakers like Kittle and Deebo Samuel. That is what having a kick returner, punt returner, just a special teams guy like Jones Jr., if he's able to continue on this path and live up to this level, that's the extra boost that he can give this Bears offense and this Bears team in general, just by, making the field a little bit shorter and making that offense not have to go, 5 first downs, 6 first downs in order to score. Just shorten that field a little bit, make it a lot easier on Justin Fields, especially as they work into these new guys, as Pringle gets healthier, as that offensive line gets sorted out. Cole Kmet looks good. I think he's going to be a breakout player, but getting him kind of spun up in this new offense run by Luke Getsy. So just having that extra help could be huge for the Bears offense. And I really think they're going to rely on a lot of that this season.
All right, Nick, it's time to get your internet privacy back today on every device you own in any country you want. Don't let anyone but you control your internet. NordVPN keeps you safe from prying eyes wherever you go online with their military-grade encryption. Is your favorite Netflix or streaming content blocked in the US? You can simply connect to one of the many countries available with NordVPN and get the access you need.
That's right, Maya. So right now, get our exclusive NordVPN deal here at nordvpn.com/SMI. It's risk-free now with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, get that exclusive deal, nordvpn.com/SMI.